Oriole Resources is an AIM-quoted gold exploration company primarily focused on West and Central Africa. Martin Rosser joined as Chief Executive in May, and to talk about the company's strategy, his vision and the portfolio. I'm delighted to say he joins us now. So, Martin, what's the company involved with at the moment, and which ones are the key projects?
Thank you, and welcome everybody. Well, our main focus is in the Cameroon, and we have two projects which we're very excited about, both of equal importance, I think, but at different stages in their exploration progression. One called Bibemi, which is the property where we've already outlined a JORC inferred resource, and we're currently moving that through the stages of feasibility. The drilling program is ongoing, and we have separately submitted an application to the Mines Ministry for an exploitation license. And so we're looking forward to the results from the drilling program and advancing that application. And then the other project, which has considerable potential at an earlier stage, is called Mbe, where we have some excellent results, and we've just completed a major trenching program, and we're looking forward to those results, which will feed into the design for a drilling program, which we're anticipating will start later this year.
So I'm wondering, Martin, is the company going to be defined as the one involved with a potential new gold district in Cameroon, or a lithium explorer, or critical mineral explorer? Or
well, we're simple folk. And we love gold. And so our core focus most definitely is on gold. We have taken a cursory look at lithium potential on some of our properties, but that's really by accident in the context of the rocks may be prospective for that commodity, they may not. But it's our job to take advantage of anything that may crop up in the course of our current and continued focus on the gold sector.
So the company is known as an early stage explorer. Will this remain the case, or will it evolve into becoming more of a developer?
Well, you're quite right. The company's modus operandi when it started was very much to focus on early stage greenfields exploration. And it's been successful in identifying two attractive projects, which I've just outlined, and some others in Cameroon. But with my arrival, I'm a mining engineer by profession, and I've got considerable experience in building and operating gold mines, both underground and open pit. We've got across-the-board capability in the company to see our projects advance through to exploitation as we de-risk them and build value for the company. So we don't want to just become an explorer that use the phrase flip properties. We'll definitely want to create the maximum value from what we've got, and that means you have to go the distance.
So let me drill further into the strategy. Is the strategy one of joint partnerships and relationships with those that earn in?
Where it's appropriate, and that's driven by our requirements from the financing point of view and the benefit of bringing in a strong partner, then yes, we'll always look to bring in a joint venture partner if it makes sense. Sometimes, depending on the circumstances and your financial position, you could obviously progress further without bringing in a partner. But it quite often makes sense to bring in somebody that gives you that extra clout. So it will be on a case-by-case basis. But as you're aware, the listeners I'm sure are aware, we have a very excellent relationship with BCM International, which is earning in on our two core projects. And that's been a great way of letting the company develop those assets without diluting down the shareholders. And we benefit from their expertise as operators, as a mining contracting business in Africa. And so it's been very good.
Another key relationship, of course, is the one with the government. So how are relations with the Cameroon Ministry of Mines and the local government there?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's critical that any company that's operating has good relationships with the various stakeholders in the country of its operation at the national level, the local, regional level. I was very pleased to have visited Cameroon a few weeks ago, and I was able to meet with the mines minister, the governor of the province, and for our core asset, and other local officials. And I was delighted to hear how supportive they are of our activities. It's a bit of a learning curve for the government because hitherto they've had a very modest mining sector, largely based on industrial minerals and the oil sector as an aside. And so it's a new experience for them, especially on the gold side, to see a company such as Oriole pioneering the way in showcasing what the country has and hopefully building the first gold mine in the country. So notwithstanding, they're very supportive. The mines minister especially was readily willing to admit that we were the leading company in the country, and he was very hopeful for our prospects. And so it was very gratifying to hear.
The leading company was in the country. That's wonderful. But let's just park Cameroon and go to Turkey, because in June, the company received $80,000 from a legacy interest in mining projects in Turkey. Are there any more legacy interests that could provide funds?
You're absolutely right. Yes, we received 80,000 plus an earlier payment of 220,000 from that asset. And so that, I guess we view that as a bit of a windfall. I mean, the assets in Turkey, the legacy assets, are historic. And the fact that we received a payment demonstrates that they have latent potential for value realization. We remain optimistic that we may get some more, but it's a bonus. We really focus on our core assets. The other asset that we have in the company, which is the conventional exploration asset, is the one in Senegal, which is a very exciting gold property as well. So we are certainly giving that considerable attention as well.
Because I was going to ask, would the company consider any more non-Africa located assets to invest in or explore in?
I don't think that's a priority for us. We're happy with what we've got. We're open-minded enough to be opportunistic if something of highly attractive was presented to us in, let's say, West or Central Africa. But I think the main thing is that investors, when they choose to invest in an exploration company, they like to select the company on what it has, and they get a bit nervous if you try and diversify their investment for them. So it would have to be quite exceptional for us to want to do it. That's not to say that might not happen, but we want to be very focused on what we have at the moment.
So you mentioned Senegal earlier. What other attractive assets does the company have or wish it had?
I guess the most important asset in any company is the management. And so it's not quite a tangible asset in the same way as properties, but it's the key thing that investors should look at to determine whether they want to invest in the company or not, because without good management, the assets aren't going to likely be very prosperous for the shareholders. So it's critical that shareholders look at the management, and we'd like to claim we have a highly professional team. We're very proud of our strong Cameroonian content in the Cameroon country, of course, and so it's very neat setup that we have.
So shareholders are obviously looking at you, Martin, because you're in your fourth month as chief executive. So what's the vision for the business? What do you want it to become?
Thank you. Yes, well, I'm delighted to have joined the company. I'm very happy with the way things are progressing and the exciting potential that we have in the company. The way I want it to progress is in the conventional fashion, in that we want to add value by discovering significant quantities of gold and turning that gold to account by way of production, and potentially, depending on the size of what we've discovered, that may lead to corporate interest from third parties. And that's always going to be a potential for any exploration company. If you find something big enough, the big boys will start to come sniffing around. So our job is to develop the assets as best we can and build up that excitement around what we have.
I'm going to be crude now, just a couple of questions about money, if you don't mind, Martin. You were the managing director of a specialist natural resources corporate finance advisor and arranger firm in the city, which has considerable experience of clients doing business in Africa. With that background and experience, how confident are you, and here's the killer question, how confident are you that the company will remain well-funded until it becomes financially self-sufficient?
I'm very confident because I believe in the assets that we have, and given the potential for these assets to create significant value through discovery of gold and advancement to a point where we have an excellent project to bring to fruition. That means that I think we'll be well placed to attract finance if we need it in the future. We're currently well financed. The kiss of death for any exploration company from the shareholders' point of view is dilution, because it obviously dilutes down the value of what they've got. And so we want to avoid that at all costs. And we have a good financial position. We've got our strong partner, which is funding our exploration activity. We've got the money that's coming in from the Lanstead agreement. And so we are in an excellent position compared to many juniors in the sector.
But some investors don't understand that subscription of £1.7 million by Lanstead. Briefly, how does that work, and has it been advantageous for shareholders?
I think undoubtedly it's been advantageous, because at the time the agreement was announced, the alternatives were not very appealing for the company. They involved a significant placing at a big discount, whereas the placing that was done was much higher than that, which I think would have been offered in a general placing. The Lanstead agreement, the benefit of the Lanstead agreement is that the receipts that we get each month are linked to the weighted volume average share price during a 20-day period. So it's all a bit complicated, but effectively, if the share price remains above what's called the benchmark price, which is 0.253 pence, then we gain a pro rata benefit over and above that extra amount. So it's a good thing for the shareholders, because if the shares do well, as they have done since the deal was announced, then our monthly receipts from Lanstead will be higher. Of course, it does work in the other direction, but our job is to make sure that we maximise the value of the shares as best we can, or through our news generation. And I think to date it has been a good deal in terms of the value of the receipts being above the base benchmark price.
Okay, you are a significant shareholder, buying 3 million shares, I think it was in June. That's skin in the game. Would you like to buy more?
Well, definitely, yes. I mean, I think it's beholden upon executives to back their job, if you like, by investing in their company along with the shareholders. The opportunity is somewhat less generous in terms of the times you can trade compared to the shareholders or new shareholders, because we're limited to whether we're insiders or not. And when we've got an active exploration program and reporting cycle, we do have reductions in the period when we can trade. But in principle, most definitely.
Understood about the closed periods. Just a couple more questions, Martin. What's on the agenda for the remainder of 2024? Because you said earlier that news flow might assist the share price.
Well, of course, the lifeblood for any exploration company is news in the context of growing the business and creating shareholder value. And so we have a very good end to the year anticipated, because we've got results due at Mbe from the trenching program, which has just been completed and was recently announced, and associated exploration work there. The next step at Mbe will be to design a significant maiden drilling program that will be hopefully taking place in the 2024-25 drilling season, which kicks off later this year. Going back to Bibemi, we have the ongoing drilling program where we'll be reporting results at appropriate times when we've got a sufficient number to give a meaningful level of information to the market. And indeed, in parallel with the results, we'll be moving forward with the exploitation license application. And indeed, we will be looking to move forward our opportunity in Senegal, and we'll be reporting on what's going on there too. So it's a busy year end, and we know that we've got the potential to deliver results that will be extremely attractive to read about for the shareholders.
Finally, it's a gift. You might be able to repeat some of the juicy bits about the business. Why should investors put Oriole Resources on their watch list?
Well, thank you. Yes, we, of course, will be very determined to deliver the value that we believe the company has. The team that I've got to know is a first-class team of very capable professionals, very dedicated. We've got an excellent position in 2 countries, in particular in Cameroon, where we're leading the way to develop what we hope will be a significant gold mining industry. We're well supported by the government at the regional and national level, and we think our properties have considerable potential on the upside to generate massive value for shareholders.
Martin Rosser, Chief Executive of Oriole Resources, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.